Welcome to the Liberated Feminine Podcast. I'm Lucy Lampy, your host, and in this episode, we're exploring the cost of being a liberated woman. Now, before I go any further, I invite you to sit with just that concept for a moment, that there is a cost to your liberation. And I'm not talking about you having to earn it or suffer through something to be good enough for it or deserve it. None of that bullshit, honestly. But for you to be in the open-hearted, soul-led, aligned, juicing you up, fully alive kind of life, there is a cost. Now, on the surface, here's what it may look like and what it often looks like. For starters, your relationships shift. Relationship dynamics shift. Old versions of a relationship, old versions of you are coming to completion. Now, this doesn't always mean that friendships or relationships, intimate relationships, any kind of relationships end, but they do change shape. They do change in the form, what it looks like. Now, this can be deeply uncomfortable. And I think that there is an assumption, people assume, okay, well, how I relate to people is going to change. The more parts of myself that I meet, the more fully I embody those parts of myself, it will rub some people the wrong way. It will inspire some, and it will call some forth into more fully who they are. And it will just cause some of them to fall away. So yes, there is a kind of I don't want to say not weeding out process, but there is an alignment that continually happens the more that you continue to meet yourself more deeply. And with that, there is hopefully, or what I want to present to you, some understanding that this is all for your highest good. I can't tell you how many different versions of me I've met throughout the years that, there were some friendships that's as far as they went, that maybe they were just for a season, and just really honoring and respecting and revering that for exactly what it is and not trying to make it be something that it just isn't meant to be. And then I have these other friendships that, we've seen each other through 15 years worth of different versions of each other. And we have a deeper love for each other and connection. And we see each other's souls, better than ever, more fully than ever. So the name of the game here with everything that I'm going to present in this conversation, in this episode here, is to not be attached to your identities. To not be attached to what you think who you think you are. Because you're always discovering more of who that is. And that doesn't mean that you abandon who you were. You integrate that into who you are and who you are becoming and who you are remembering yourself to be. And this is something that I very strongly want to emphasize, that as long as you are attached to any version of yourself, you are not liberated. You're not. Then you become entrapped or enslaved in the box of that version of you. So whether it's relationships that are no longer aligned, or a whole career that's no longer aligned, a whole line of work. God, maybe you went to law school and you were a lawyer for 20 years and now you're like, what the fuck? This isn't for me anymore. Maybe you're in a 20-year marriage and all of a sudden it's, oh wow, I think this is complete. And what I am not suggesting is that we go into a form of avoidance by, when we experience the discomfort of the shedding, and when we experience the discomfort of recalibrating to what is aligned now, that we then just, okay, well, this must not be it because it feels hard. That's not what I'm talking about here. When you really connect deeply with your heart, with your intuition, with your womb wisdom, and you know, okay, it's time to pivot. And maybe it's something this is still big, but not maybe as big as ending a whole career or a committed relationship, but, where you are located, where you are meant to be living next, the environment, your physical environment, the concept, the practice, the way of life, really, of not being attached to any particular version of your identity is at the core of being a liberated woman, because only then can you really be an open vessel to love and how it wants to flow through you. What is it compelling you to explore next, so that you can be really open, truly open to this deeper question of, okay, what would love have me do? How would love have me move? What would love have me say? I am relaying this to my own personal experience. I remember in the years that I really finally embraced my dark feminine, my darkness. And I'm not talking about distortions and fear and like darkness of scary. No, I mean like the juiciness, the fertile ground, the womb, the darkness, the love in the darkness. And I became so comfortable there, and I was no longer afraid of the boogeyman in the darkness that I was taught, in my upbringing, that, darkness is bad and all these things. Perhaps we can unpack that some more in another episode. But what's interesting about the more comfortable I became being in my darkness, and even in literal darkness, just in a dark room, or go outside and be amongst the trees in the dark, there came a point where my edge was no longer about how comfortable or how deeply I could go into the darkness, into the alchemy, into the death and rebirth. My edge eventually was, letting in more light, letting in more ease, not waiting for the other shoe to drop. When's the next death and rebirth? That's all my Scorpio speaking there, right? So to have gone deeper into the journey of alchemy and all of that cost me, as like to liberate myself within that space. It cost me my comfort zone and all of my beliefs of darkness equals bad, darkness equals evil. That was a whole gold mine of stuff right there that I got to unearth. And then the edge became, how do I let in more light? How do I just, invoke like just beams of light and really be able to have the capacity to receive that? And along with that, unexpectedly, this is the most recent one in the past year, unexpectedly came this grieving. A grieving of my identity as an intense, wild Scorpio woman. And it was a little discombobulating. It was a little bit disorienting. And I saw the ways in which I was hesitant to release my attachment to the identity. The attachment to my identity of as this intense Scorpio woman. And what I discovered is that all of my fears of losing my edge, losing my wildness, losing my powerful darkness, losing my intensity were completely unfounded, because you know what ended up being revealed to me is that I still have access to all of that. All that my path, all that love was asking me to do was to open my hands and release my attachment to that identity, that version of me that had to be at the forefront in order for me to really deeply embody that. It just did. And that tends to be how it happens, An aspect of you wants to be called forward, and then it's at the forefront. And it's perfect that way. It's meant to be that way. And then you really bring that part of you home, and it's integrated. And then there will be a new edge. And so again, having that openness in my hands of just like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen as I let in more softness and more light and more ease, but I am willing to do it, and I trust. I trust and I surrender, and I know that whatever comes from this is going to be for my highest good, and it's where my soul wants me to go. So I'm going to honor that. And that is a big cost of our continued expansion and liberation. Now, along with this comes the cost of your comfort zone. I mean, that one's pretty obvious, right? There's always going to be a new edge, as I've mentioned. There's always going to be something, even if your edge is to just let yourself be fucking happy. You know, that right there feels so scary and vulnerable and unsafe for so many people, because we are just waiting for the next painful thing to happen and trying to protect ourselves preemptively by not letting ourselves be happy, by avoiding joy, by, finding things that are wrong, finding things to fix, finding reasons not to be happy or at peace. That's ultimately what we really want, right? We want to be at peace. That doesn't mean everything is calm, but deep down inside, no matter what, it's like if we can have that unshakable peace, that is liberation. That is some fucking liberation right there. And the ultimate expression of liberation, perhaps, and the most difficult, is releasing our attachment to our pain. Releasing our attachment to the identities that were created based on our victimhood, our wounds, our traumas. Who are we without our pain? Now, on the one hand, right, our souls chose specific paths and trials and hardships and experiences. That is purposeful. I believe that. And we choose which families we come into and who our parents are and our birth charts and all of these very specific things that our souls agreed to. And those things shape things like our personalities and our physical brains, our nervous systems. However, I'm not talking about that. It's like your story is your story, and that's meant to be your story. What I'm talking about is when we are unwilling to, again, it's like what I was describing earlier, my attachment to my identity as just like, my identity as Scorpio rising. That's what I am, with a bunch of prominent, very impactful Scorpio placements, y'all, okay? But if I wasn't willing to just release my grip on the attachment that this is who I am Scorpio, I couldn't have received such beautiful gifts of my Taurus. Very specifically in this example, because I have been feeling compelled more to my Taurus themes and embracing the sensuality and like, yes, I love to eat good food. Oh, I do enjoy cooking, because that was a big story, or the opposite of an identity that I had for myself my whole life. Like, I'm not someone who really cooks. I don't really like it. Like, stresses me out. Come to find out, I actually enjoy it. And I really enjoy eating the food too. So if I was so attached to like, no, I need my intensity. And if that isn't satiated, then I don't even know who I am or what I'm doing. And so it's just that willingness to loosen our grip, and you're not losing this part of yourself. I so want to emphasize that. You're not losing your story of what you've overcome. You're not losing the triumphs and all of the courage and the strength and the stamina and everything that it took to make it through whatever you've made it through. You are not losing that. But that's quite a bit different than letting yourself not simply identify with your pain and with your trauma and with your wounds and with whatever has happened. Because what happens then is that you are free, you are liberated enough to write a new story moving forward, to add to that story. If I had only stopped at the point in my story of, well, I got a divorce after 17 years. It was heart-shattering. It was so fucking painful. Single parenting, and it was nothing like I thought that it would be months after the divorce. Just all these things. If I was so attached to that story, and that was my identity, and I so identified with being this single mom who overcame these things, which, yes, that is part of my story. And I do plan on speaking more to that in the most honoring way to my family that I can. However, if I had really identified with, well, now this is who I am. Now I'm a strong, independent, single woman. Again, nothing wrong with this. Nothing wrong with this at all. But if I had been like, this is who I am and there's no space for anything else, instead of, hey, this is who I am now, and this is where life has me, and I'm open to what the universe wants to give to me, to the love, to the goodness in whatever shape or form it sees fit for me. You see, there's such a different energy in the second example of that. And I can see so clearly now that it was my openness to the blessings and the magic and the miracles of life, of the universe, of God, that magnetized me and my current partner to one another. This is such a profound and beautiful and soft and easeful love. There's such a deep respect and reverence and honoring and passion and chemistry and attraction. And it's wild. If I had said, no, I can't have that right now because I'm in my, single woman era. And I just need to live there for a while because this is what women do when they get divorced. If I had made that my new identity, again, separating, experiencing something from identifying with it. Get your gifts from that era. Meet yourself where you need to be met. Allow yourself to be met by love, by God. And also leave space for the magic and miracles. And when you do that, this is just a next level liberation, right? Because you are tapped into that unshakable peace. That doesn't mean that your nervous system will never get dysregulated again or that you'll never have something difficult or stressful, but you are at your core connected to that source of unconditional love and peace. And then you are also really, hands open, not attached to who you have been or who you think you should be or who you think other people want or need you to be, and just in the full fucking authentic, transparent truth of your heart. And you're leaving space for the universe, for God to meet you there, for love to meet you there. That's liberation. Nothing owns you. Not even you. Not even the past version of you. And when you live in that space, there's no telling what's going to open up for you. But there is a cost. There is a cost. And that is your fear, your attachment to your fear, your attachment to what has been, your attachment to what you think should be. And in its place, it's not like you pay this cost like you're paying money and it's like, and now I'm broke because I paid all this money. No, in its place, it's being filled and overflowing with so much love and the presence of that unconditional, it's not going anywhere, acceptance and love from that source. So as you continue your journey of liberation, of healing, of sensuality, erotic reclamation, however that may look in this season of your life, I encourage you, I invite you to maintain a soft, open posture to life, to your journey. And literally, this is something that I've said every day for 5-6 years now, is I open myself to magic and miracles today. And the more that you experience that magic, those magic and miracles meeting you, and you begin to not like expected in a way. Like you live in anticipation of it, an excited, open-hearted anticipation. Your whole life, just how you experience everything, is going to change. So I'd love to hear your feedback on what's clicking for you, and maybe if there's a specific thing in your life that you're like, oh, it's time for me to release my attachment to how I've done this or how I've shown up in that. So feel free always to email me your thoughts or questions or feedback at support@thewildawakening.com. And thank you so much for joining me for this episode. And until next time, here's to liberating your wild feminine heart.
Bring the bass, give me a taste, they me the waste. I'm your little plaything.